Why is it so hard for me to put boundaries if I know that boundaries are needed?
I was aware, uncomfortably, consistently aware. I was just also not changing.
I prepared the day and the moment that I could put that boundary, that I could actually change.
Awareness and behavior changes are actually governed by completely different psychological processes.
So you know what you want to change. So you know what's the issue here.
Yes.
But you're not doing it.
It's like you're beating your head against a wall and wondering why your head hurts while you're beating your head against the wall.
Stepping outside of the conversation with yourself, how does one do that? Hello, Jordan.
Miriam, how are you? We just said each other's name on top of each other. Miriam, how are you?
Great. How are you?
So, good evening, good morning. People don't really probably realize that because you're in the UK and I'm in LA, that we're always like 8 hours apart from each other.
Yes, you're behind. You're way ahead of you. I'm going ahead.
I'm behind.
I'm in the future.
So far ahead of me. That's how you know things before I do. It's amazing.
There we go.
Okay, listen, I'm going to say something today because our topic is a great topic, I think. And again, I'm not patting myself on the back there, but I'm going to say something that I think is slightly uncomfortable for two coaches to say. You ready?
Okay. Yes, go for it.
I think awareness is overrated. What did you just say? How dare you, is what Miriam is thinking. No. I'm not saying it's useless. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not important. It's just overrated as a destination. Because I've spent years being aware of things about myself that didn't change. And the awareness didn't help initially. It actually made it worse sometimes.
Wait.
Look at your face. Your face is so perplexed. You're like,
wait. What do you mean the awareness didn't change? Of course it does. It does help you.
But what I'm saying is it's not the destination. It's the doorway. That's what I'm saying. So like, for example, here's a specific memory I have before I got sober. I'm standing in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Plenty drunk. Don't need any more alcohol. Aware of the fact that I don't need any more booze while I'm pouring vodka down my throat. You hear what I'm saying now? Just because I know it's a good idea doesn't mean I do anything about it.
Okay.
There's a trap. That's all. Yeah.
So you're saying you were aware that you shouldn't be drinking.
That's right.
But you kept drinking.
That's right.
So why did you keep drinking?
That's what we're talking about today, Miriam. We're talking about something that I think the personal development world doesn't say enough. Awareness is the beginning. Now, again, somebody might yell at me and say, yeah, we do say that. It's not the destination. And the gap between knowing something and actually living differently, that gap can last for years. It did for me. And I talk to a lot of people, whether I'm coaching them or in meetings or things like that. And understanding what actually bridges that gap, that's what this episode is about.
Yeah. So what we're saying, Jordan, is that you're trying to answer a question. Why awareness isn't enough for change?
Yes. Yeah.
You were well aware that you needed to change something. You studied yourself, you tried to understand yourself, and you knew what was wrong. But you still didn't.
Yep. I mean,
so what happened?
Well, here's what I've noticed, both in my life and in the rooms that I sit in, either as a coach or as a participant in the rooms. There's a very specific version of being stuck that looks like growth from the outside. It looks like someone who can articulate their patterns brilliantly, who knows exactly what their wounds came from. They have the language for every trigger, every defense mechanism, every inherited belief. They've got all the languaging for it. They've read the books. They've listened to the podcasts. But
what you did that, Jordan?
Yes,
did you do that?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And I'm saying that quietly, consistently did the same things. The old behavior, the behavior I was trying to be aware of. I say this with zero judgment because I've lived this, right? That's what I'm saying. I was that person. I knew I had a problem with alcohol for years before I did anything about it. Years. And during those years, I wasn't in denial exactly. Well, I guess I was in denial exactly. I was in denial. I was aware, uncomfortably, consistently aware. I was just also not changing.
And we know why. Because knowing what to do and doing
Yes.
what you know, they are completely different things.
Completely different things.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of people and a lot of our clients come to coaching. And
Yeah.
what do they say? I want to understand why I can't do this. I want to understand
Yeah.
why I keep repeating this pattern. And I'm like, so you know what you want to change. So you know what's the
Yes.
issue here,
Yes.
but you're not doing it.
Yes. Why?
What's happening?
Yeah. That's the question.
I'm gonna talk also from experience here. My family, they've been doing things for their entire life since I am aware that I don't like and I didn't like. And I was well aware that I didn't like those things and that I didn't want to take part in. But yet I was doing nothing about it. Nothing. And I
Right.
was on that moment that you're talking about I was aware, I was well aware that I
Yeah.
didn't want that dynamic. And yet I wasn't doing anything about it until, in my personal case, you know what happened? I went to therapy. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I
Yeah.
had an emotional crisis and I went to therapy and I
Yeah.
started to understand what really was going on because I was like, I am aware, but I can't change anything. What's going on here?
Yeah. It's like you're beating your head against a wall and wondering why your head hurts while you're beating your head against the wall.
Yes. And you know what I learned doing therapy? I learned that my mind understood the issue. You don't want this. This is the issue. You are aware. My nervous system didn't. My nervous system was stuck. My mind understood before my nervous system did.
Yeah, well, there's like elements of the brain, right? Again, we're both not doctors, so we're not pretending to be doctors, but here's what I think is fascinating about this. And I want to bring in some research. It validates something that you and I are talking about here, that anyone who has tried to change something about themselves already knows intuitively. We already know it. There's a psychologist, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Peter Gollwitzer, who has documented something called the intention-behaviour gap, which essentially is the scientific name for experience of knowing what you should do and not doing it. And this research shows that awareness and behavior changes are actually governed by completely different psychological processes. Awareness activates the thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, and the part that understands, analyzes, articulates, but behavior change requires rewiring something much deeper. The limbic system, the feeling and habit brain. And those two systems don't automatically talk to each other, which means you can have complete clarity in your thinking brain about what needs to change, and your habit brain just keeps running the old program. So that's what we're talking about. It's a little bit backed up in actual scientific data. Anything that I think you and I say, take it with a grain of salt, believe it, but do your own research also. I mean, this is just from what you and I have experienced because we're trying to be better ourselves. So we've done research, we've studied, and also put it into practice. And that's kind of the part of it too. Awareness and behavior change are governed by completely different systems of the brain. And there's another researcher who I know, James Prochaska, I think is his name, whose stages of change model shows that awareness is only the second stage of a 6-stage process. Most people get to awareness and assume they're almost there. They're actually still 4 stages away from sustained change. So 4 stages, that's a gap, right? And then our favorite, I think we mentioned this in one of our other episodes, is Gabor.
Gabor, yeah.
Yeah. Whose work on addiction specifically addresses why awareness
Yes.
doesn't break the cycle. He describes addictive behavior as a brain's learned solution to unbearable emotional pain, and knowing intellectually that the solution is hurting you doesn't override the brain's desperate need to for relief. That's from Gabor. Yeah. So it's exactly it's like me standing in the kitchen, pouring vodka down my throat, knowing, and how I feel on the inside. It's that they're just not lining up. Not lining up.
And for me, Jordan, when I was in the therapy at the beginning. I went to therapy because of that crisis. Yeah. I then started to become aware about what was going on and what I needed to do. I was well aware that what I needed to do is to start protecting my emotional health and put boundaries. But I had never put boundaries in my entire life. Right. Not with my family. Not with my family. Right. I put them with everyone else but my family.
Yeah.
And so I was well aware for a period of time, I was well aware that I needed to put boundaries, and yet I was not doing it. And then the question to my mind was, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard for me to put boundaries if I know that boundaries are needed and I know they're needed to heal? And you know what?
Yeah.
I wasn't ready, Jordan.
Yeah.
I realized I still needed a little bit more work, a little bit more separation, a little bit more healing to be ready to bring up that courage. Because you need a lot of courage. You need a lot of bravery and courage to be able to put boundaries which you've never done before. And you know it's going to be very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And oh my God, not long ago, for the first time in my whole life, I put a boundary to a family member and I felt I'm
Freedom.
changing now. Finally, I was aware. I wasn't changing. Now I'm ready. Now I'm changing. It was more than a conscious decision. My nervous system was ready to change. Once you're self-aware, does that become avoidance in that, oh, I'm aware I need to do it, but I'm not doing it. So because now I'm aware, it's kind of is the food that I give to my brain to say, well, I'm aware I have to do it at some point. Yes, at some point I have to put some boundaries. Yeah. But until I was ready, until my emotional state, my growth, my healing journey, I was ready, is when I prepared it with my own coach and with a therapist. I prepared the day and the moment that I could put that boundary, that I could actually change. And awareness was no more just awareness. It actually became change.
Well, it became action.
Yes.
It became action.
It did.
You took it from an idea and a concept to an actual behavior and put it into action in your reality.
Yes.
I think what moved the needle for me, and I think we're saying the same thing here, in recovery, there's people you might hear, cunning, baffling, and powerful. That's a, quote unquote, cunning, baffling, and powerful. And that's how the disease gets described oftentimes of alcoholism or addiction in general. And for a long time, I experienced it as this thing that had me, like it was running me, that I was somehow inside and couldn't get outside of it. Now, this is kind of hindsight's 2020, right? I mean, I'm looking back at this, having this awareness. But when I had that, because I relapsed after about a year and a half, and then I had this like awareness. What? It was like literally went from that's a good idea to wow, that is necessary. Look at this, and I started calling it the wolf, my wolf, this entity, this part of me that had a very convincing argument for why having another drink was a good idea.
So why did you call it? Why wolf?
I didn't purposely. Interestingly enough, I was having this kind of moment of transformation, I guess, to a certain degree, in the sense of being able to kind of step outside of the conversation I was having with myself.
Hold on, Jordan. Stepping outside of the conversation with yourself? How does one do that?
No, I know. Good question. It's a very good question. For years, I couldn't tell the difference between the wolf's voice and my own voice. I was learning to observe the wolf rather than be the wolf, to step outside of it slightly, to hear the argument it was making and recognize, oh, that's just the wolf. That's the disease.
Okay.
That's
and that wolf was aware, but was telling you not to move.
Oh no, the wolf had zero interest in my getting sober, of course.
But it was aware, or wasn't it?
I don't know if it was aware. Here's what I'll say. So I ended up in the hospital for like 5 days with bronchitis, pneumonia. It was crazy. Anyway, a lot of pain. And they gave me pain medication. Now, as a recovering alcoholic, obviously doing drugs is, frowned upon. But when you're in a hospital, you're given permission to a certain degree to take pain meds to reduce the pain. And so bottom line, in that 5 days, again, this is all hindsight, was 2020. Looking back on this, I was aware of it. But while I was there, I was literally negotiating with myself about how much to tell the nurse I was in pain that would govern how much or how little pain medicine they would give me. So it was like, am I a red? That means like you're in extreme pain, or you're a yellow or blue, which is like you're fine, right? And I was negotiating how much pain I was in to tell them whether it was true or not, so that I could get more pain medication so I could feel that buzz, right? But what I realized is I was talking to who? Who was I talking to? No one else was in the room. So that's what I mean when I'm talking to this part. And what ended up happening, bizarrely, this is going to sound weird, but this anthropomorphized version of like a cartoon version of a wolf. Like I was seeing this version of this part of me, and it was like leaning up against a lamp pole, flipping a coin, smoking a cigarette with his zoot suit on. Come on, man. He's like, come on, what's one more? No big deal. No one's watching. Come on, let's go.
Oh,
Right? Smooth criminal, smooth fucking criminal. And so that guy, I realized, loved and wanted to run the show, but it wasn't necessarily who I am. It's a part of me that was running the show. And so I started to have this space between me and it.
wait, wait,
And when I
wait, wait,
got
wait,
that
wait,
space,
wait, wait. That that
yeah,
part of you,
yes,
was
yes.
that coming from a script that someone handed you?
No, no, I mean, this creature, this person,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
entity, whatever it was.
yeah.
No. I mean, not that I know of. You know what I mean?
So
Like, I
where
don't
was that coming from?
I don't have no idea. I'll let you know when I find out. I really
Ah.
let me hear. Here's the only thing. What I got out of it though was some freedom to choose. I got to say, I'm now aware that I have a problem and that I'm not the problem. A part of me wants to run the show, wants its medicine, wants to soothe itself, thinks that if it drinks enough alcohol or does enough drugs, it'll be safe. But once I realized that it wasn't necessarily the truth, I could actually have a little bit of separation from it, taking over and steering the ship, if you will. So that's where I got some clarity. I reset my sobriety clock. I've now been sober over 12 years. But it was really that distinction where I got, I'm not the disease, I have a disease. And that was a big difference for me in that leap from awareness to, okay, now I can do something with this. Now I can, how does Jordan act now? I get to choose differently. Does that make sense?
Oh my God. You just, yeah, yeah. Basically, you're telling me, a life coach, that my whole work is all about finding out where all of those parts are coming from and
Right.
who they are and all of
Well,
that. So
right.
you just,
Yeah. You and I have talked about this. I mean, I'm a
yeah,
big fan of Dr. Schwartz,
yes,
IFS, internal family
yes.
systems, and you have been bold enough to go in there yourself. We both have done this work. We highly, highly recommend Dr. Richard Schwartz. He's a Harvard professor, IFS, internal family systems. Check it out. No kidding. Life changing, I think, for both of us.
So someone listening to the podcast or watching, they're going to
Yeah.
hear your story about the wolf and they're going to be like, what the heck is going on with
Totally.
Jordan? Having
Yeah,
a wolf,
crazy.
a part of him, right? It looks like, okay. What's very interesting
Yeah.
is that part of you, it was an emotional part, probably wounded, probably with some wounds that are going on, and it was dictating your life and your behavior. It was the automatic response that tell you keep doing this or keep doing that because I'm feeding the wolf, right? Is that part is feeding the wolf. I'm very interested to know where that part of you was coming from. In another episode, maybe we do a bit of coaching, but this is something that is very interesting for people to understand their part and find out where they're coming from. And then once you're aware, here is the thing. Awareness wasn't enough for Jordan. Jordan had to consciously decide to take action.
It's the first step. It's the door that you open to walk in. But you can't walk in without the awareness. It's the most uncomfortable one sometimes. You kind of have to like go, oh, this is something that needs to be looked at. Naming specifically where that gap is, not generally, being specific. I know I should exercise more, I should eat better, be more present. Specifically, I'm aware that I reach for my phone every morning before my feet hit the floor, and I
Yes.
still do it. That's specific, right? So that's just an example. And the second thing, and this came from recovery, is finding the environment where change is actually possible. Because I couldn't get sober alone. I needed a room, and I needed people who had already closed that gap that I was trying to close. And the container, for me, it matters enormously. The space, the environment. You cannot think your way out of something you behaved your way into. You cannot think your way out of something you behaved your way into.
Yes. And I just want to kind of do a quick summary of what you're saying
Yeah.
and how many times we bring that insight into our coaching sessions, into our lives. We read the
Yeah.
books, we hear the podcasts. You had those insights. However, it's very interesting because insight can become a very sophisticated form of procrastination,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Very sophisticated. I know about it. I'll do it another time. I will learn to do it another time. And many times clients
Yeah.
come with, I want to break that procrastination. Why am I procrastinating? I know what I need to be doing and I'm not doing it. And what is it that we say and that we do in coaching and that they then get on and do? The atomic habits, like the book, little tasks, little actions, repetition, practice, but also how important it is the discomfort. Because if you are comfortable, you're not changing, you're not moving. So feeling that discomfort and pushing through with courage and with action.
Avoiding discomfort is not the solution either,
That's
is what you're
right.
saying. It's like,
Correct.
and again, we're being mindful of the fact that I hope people understand what we mean by discomfort. I don't think people should be suffering necessarily, but the thing
Of
is,
course.
if you don't get a little uncomfortable, you will suffer.
Yeah, you're not
That's the
moving. You're
thing.
not moving. You're in the
Yeah.
same place. So
Yeah.
discomfort means getting out of your comfort zone, which is not doing anything. It's just still being in the same place.
This is another conversation for us to bring up too at some point. That
Yes.
liminal state, that state of liminality where you're kind of that in
Yes.
between limbo.
Yes.
Am I
Yes.
doing it? Am I not doing it? And living in that, like, I don't know, is mind crushing. I mean, the idea of staying in that I haven't chosen either way space has been miserable for me in the past. Sometimes you just gotta choose and adjust as you go in a responsible way, of course. So, okay. Are we
And
rounding third here, Miriam? How are we doing?
yeah, just the final thing I wanted to say is that you understood, you had the awareness, you had the insight. We're looking at Jordan's story, my story with the therapy and the boundaries. But people generally, okay, I don't want to say this is always happening. I'd say generally, people don't become what they understand. You might understand something and not doing it. People become what they repeatedly practice. Action. Get out of the comfort zone. But it needs to be repeated in time. It cannot be a client come to coaching. They say, I want to stop procrastination. I want to stop knowing what to do but not doing. I'm just going to do it one day a week. And then the first week he does it. And the next week he didn't do it. And then we were like, okay, what's going on? Why aren't we doing it? Back on coaching, back on adjusting things. He wasn't ready. We found out he was well aware. He understood, had the insight. They wanted to become what he understood. That wasn't happening because he wasn't ready. We found out what was happening and how to be ready to do those actions repeatedly in time and with practice. So awareness doesn't create change. Awareness creates choice. And what you do with that choice is what creates change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Jordan, what did you notice today?
Let's see. Now you notice the thing that I already know that I've been using awareness as reason not to act on yet. The gap. It has a name now. And what I'm going to do with that, that's up to me.
Yes. Now you notice that maybe awareness isn't the finish line. Maybe Awareness is simply the moment you lose the excuse of not knowing, because once you see the pattern, the question is, what are you doing about it?
Yeah.
We're not saying force yourself. We are not saying do crazy stuff. What we are saying is you want to know, you know. You want to do, you do. Awareness and change have something in between. Action. Action!
Ask yourself this question also. What do you already know that you haven't been willing to act on yet? Just ask yourself that question today.
I would love if people can put us something in the comments to see where they're at and what they feel about what they know and what they've not changed and
That's right.
where
Be
that
honest.
gap in between. Yes.
Yeah, be honest. This is the place to do it, right?
Well, Jordan, thank you so much. This one was a bit for me. It's one of those topics that we see all the time. And we are
Yeah.
like, yes, we want to do something. And I procrastinate all day long. And so do you and everybody else
Yeah, of
does.
course, we're human.
Become aware and change. Okay, next episode is going to be very interesting. My goodness, about men don't cry.
Yeah.
Men
What?
don't cry.
That's what I heard. That's what I've heard.
We are going to have a look at that from a man and from a woman's perspective.
Yep. That's
I
right.
very much look forward to that. Well, thank you for the conversation yet again.
Thank you.
I love our talks. For our audience, if you like it, please share it and give us some comments to see if you like what we're doing. We're definitely enjoying a lot. And we hope to bring you some insight and give you some fun and some entertainment as well.
Yeah. See you next time. Thanks.
See you next time. Take care and bye-bye.